Call the meeting to order. Just move on to your roll call.
Ken Anderson.
Here.
Larry Hafner.
Here.
Franklin Hahn.
Here.
Wayne Runnigan.
Here.
And Ken Visker.
Okay, then.
Read the notice.
Yep, read the notice.
So please take notice that an application was received from the following persons for a variance of ordinance requirements. Sean Allen in the Crescent Township for a variance to allow an accessory building to be located near the front property line in the principal building on the lot, and a variance to allow door height in excess of 10 feet. A hearing on this application will be held at the Houston County Commissioners Room in the city of Caledonia at 5:30 p.m. on Thursday, December 16th. All persons having an interest in the matter will be given the opportunity to submit comments relative to the granting or denying of said application. Comments should be mailed to the Environmental Services Department or emailed and must be received by Tuesday, December 7th of 2021. Comments in regard to the petition received by the state will be part of the public record and will be made available for review by the Board of Adjustment prior to the meeting. This is advertised on December 1st of 2021.
Okay, I guess next would be for Allen's, if you have any comments. Want to address the board?
Yeah, sorry if you come up again.
All right. No problem.
There's really nothing unusual out of this one or from this one. I guess with the layout of the lot, it really is the only reasonable location. to
Right,
locate
with,
them.
you guys familiar with the area at all? Maybe a little bit, but it's situated so that the lot is long and but relatively narrow. So pitch behind the house is 30% grade. Greater it goes.
Yep.
Just keep going up from there. The only real spot I have to put a building is in front of the house.
Yep.
Right now, I'm parking stuff down on the grass in front of the house. Neighbors are not displeased, but I think they prefer I got it inside and I have it inside myself or anything up a little bit. The engineer was out there, I think he has a problem with it. Crescent Township Board, they don't have a problem with it. It's the head of the Township Board, and he also lives directly across, so it's going to be mostly in his view. Got comments from the other neighbors on the beach. Agricultural buildings here by trees. So I just need a little bit bigger size because we've got more going through. It takes a little bigger door. A little bit bigger, but I've got bigger stuff. 40 by 60. Sidewalls are going to be 16, so it's a 14-foot door.
Yep.
Code says 10 feet. And it's kind of, it's still residential, but it's kind of area out there.
So you're using poles then, I assume?
I haven't decided if I'm going to go slab on grade that way or from the kind of wait and see what concrete does in the spring. Right? So,
Well, it'll drop.
Deacon says it's not accurate, but just to verify it, your property doesn't go down the middle of your neighbor's driveway, does it? I don't know if you looked at it.
no, I didn't catch that actually. The gravel there is my driveway.
Well, there's two driveways there.
Oh,
The liner is right on his driveway, yeah. To be honest with you, his driveway is closer to my property line than his property.
The observation.
But
So I'm assuming that
he
lot
didn't
was,
realize that he owned that whole top half. I had to explain that to him. He thought his property line ended at the trees. I had some other issues there. By the way,
well, I'm assuming it was surveyed at some time in point way back.
Did you know Walters at all?
Yeah,
Yeah, he's the one that actually, that was their farmland originally, and then they're the ones that
Oh,
split that
okay.
up.
Which Waltons?
Vernon, yeah.
Oh,
okay. Do board members have any other questions for Alan? Anyone else in the public have a comment? Move on. Any other comments or questions to the board members? Thank you for your information. Or they, no one does.
Thank you. As we said, we had the two comments. There's one from the highway engineer that he had no concerns. And then one from the neighbor that said he was in favor of the building project too. That was wrong.
Anything else, or should we just move on to the findings? I think we're to that stage.
Okay, so we can start the findings then. Number one, that the variance request is in harmony with the intent and purpose of official controls. Analysis says that the comprehensive land use plan identifies that urban development will be encouraged in rural areas adjacent to the city of La Crescent. Accessory structures are allowable within urban areas but are limited in sizes.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed, same sign. Go ahead.
Two, that there are practical difficulties in complying with the official controls and the proposed use of the property is reasonable. Economic considerations alone do not constitute practical difficulties. Analysis says that the dwelling is located near the back of the lot, similar to the neighboring lot, which makes building behind the dwelling difficult. To make matters more complex, the grade behind the house increases dramatically, which would make for a greater potential erosion issue. In respect to the garage door height, the garage door must be larger to accommodate taller equipment such as an RV.
Any other discussion on the findings?
well, he couldn't even build back there, could he? Because it's too steep.
You'd have to have a variance on the, for the, probably the toe of the bluff or something anyway.
Yeah,
On
the,
the building, yeah, no, it's like a 30% grade. There's a huge amount of excavation that has to be done in the retaining wall.
Yeah.
yeah. It
And
would,
then accessibility would be another one real difficult.
Yeah, I'm not arguing the point. I'm just saying.
Yep.
yeah, potentially he may be able to locate, probably not a 40 by 60 building back there, but a building, but it would just require a lot of dirt work that would make erosion a huge issue.
Any other comments and questions? All in favor of the motion or finding, say aye.
I,
Opposed? That motion, that carried. One, number 3.
3, that the variance request is due to special conditions or circumstances unique to the property and not created by the property owner. Analysis is that the natural topography prevents over half of the lot from being buildable, and while the current landowners built the house back in 1993, the dwelling location at the toe of the hill is very similar to the other 3 houses in the subdivision. It is also reasonable to believe that they did not know what their needs would be in 30 years, and the ordinance in effect at that time does not appear to have the same requirement had they planned for it.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion, okay, number 4.
The variance cannot be alleviated by a reasonable method other than a variance, and the minimum variance which would alleviate the practical difficulty is sought. Analysis is that the dwelling was constructed almost 30 years ago and would have needed to be located closer to County 6 to allow for easily locating another structure behind it in this long, narrow lot. Slopes may allow a building behind the house at this point, but there is a high potential for erosion issues. And the garage door height variance can be alleviated by storing taller equipment outside. However, the purpose of building this shed is to house equipment out of sight of neighboring properties.
Discussion? All in favor of staff analysis, say aye.
I,
Opposed? One, number 5.
The variance will not alter the essential character of the locality nor substantially impair property values or the public health, safety, or welfare in the vicinity. Analysis is that this proposal would be a permitted use in the Ag Protection District, and 2 out of the other 3 lots in the subdivision have sheds very near the 1,500 square feet. So larger accessory buildings are not out of character for this location.
Comments, discussion? All in favor of staff analysis, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Number 6.
Number 6, that the request is not a use variance and shall not have the effect of allowing any use that is not allowed in the zoning district, permit a lower degree of flood protection than the regulatory flood protection elevation, or permit standards lower than those required by state law. Analysis says there is no floodplain in the vicinity of the building location, and this will not allow a use not allowed in the zoning district, provided a CUP is granted, and the planning commission did grant a CUP earlier tonight.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor of staff analysis, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Then we need to have a motion to accept the findings.
I'll make a motion, we'll accept the findings as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, then we need a motion on to grant the variances, right? That would be the next step.
Yep.
And there's a proposed motion. Is that adequate?
Yep, I don't have anything to change. So motion to grant a variance to allow an accessory building near the front lot line than the principal building, and a variance to allow a garage door height in excess of 10 feet.
I'll make a motion for that.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Franklin. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Ken Anderson,
Aye.
Larry Hafner,
Aye.
Franklin Hans,
Aye.
Wayne Runnigan,
Aye.
and Ken Visker is absent.
Motion carried fast.
So this board does make final decisions, so the variances will stand. The planning commission makes a recommendation to the board of commissioners, and so we'll take that in front of the board on Tuesday, it'll be next Tuesday, it's the 21st, and so I'll let you know then how that turns out. Yeah, and generally they will approve whatever the planning commission recommends, so. And you don't have to be present for that one. I'll present it and yep, and then I'll just send you the, so.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
Thank you. Yeah, just right about there. So
And so,
the next one.
yep, and Greg's actually on Zoom.
Okay.
I'll grab my stuff organized here.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm a little hard of hearing, so I'm doing my best to hear. So sorry if I ask what a bunch of times.
Oh, my.
I'll speak loud then.
Yep. Okay, start.
Ready?
Yep, we may as well start. Notice.
Please take notice that an application was received from the following persons for a variance of setback requirements. Greg Jasiewski, I guess correct me if I'm wrong, at Mount Prairie Township for a variance of setback requirements to reduce side yard setbacks in an agricultural district for an existing building, for existing buildings. A hearing on this application will be held at the Houston County Commissioners Room in Caledonia at 5:50 p.m. on Thursday, December 16th of 2021. All persons having an interest in the matter will be given the opportunity to submit comments relative to the granting or denying of said application. Comments should be mailed to the Environmental Services Department or emailed and must be received by Tuesday, December 7th of 2021. Comments in regard to the petition received by this date will be part of the public record and will be made available for review by the Board of Adjustment prior to the meeting. This was advertised on December 1st of 2021.
Want to go through your staff reports?
Yeah. Cover. So really what caused this issue is that when there was a parcel split back in the early 2000s, and this whole farm got split up into, I think, 8 parcels total. And when they did so, this particular parcel had like the original homestead on it, and they split it so that these 2 existing buildings did not meet the 50-foot property line setbacks. So that's what started the issue. What kind of brought this all about was it was brought to my attention that they were constructing this building out there, and so I contacted him about it, and they did submit a building permit. But then in reviewing the building permit, we always look at all the property lines or the parcel as a whole, and then that's what brought us here today, I guess, is to get all these to get the property lines corrected there is an older existing building on the west property line, and then for the one that they're currently working on right now. Sort of the unique part about this is that he claims that there's a lot of open acreage there, and he could have relocated it. But Greg said that they contacted the office and they were told that they did not need a building permit. And so we could have solved half the problem at that point. We still would have been faced with one non-compliant building, so we would have been here regardless, because they do not plan to tear that one down. And so that's kind of the general background on the site. I suppose Greg can provide more details on.
Yeah, am I okay to speak now about it, or?
Go ahead.
Okay, and so, yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know that I did call up to try to see if we needed a permit, and I think that the conclusion that we'd come to was that it was an in-kind property that didn't need a permit, and so we went and hired a builder and started, and then stopped and started again, and so I really didn't think that I needed a permit, and so now the building is half built, and we got a stop work order. And as soon as I got the stop work order, I stopped working, and I mean, I still don't understand why I need the permit if it's an in-kind building that was built, prior to 1967. It was built in 1962, and on public record, even on this staff report packet, it shows that the building was built in 1962, and it's the same height and length and width and everything. And so I was under the assumption that an in-kind building would not need a permit. That's why I started. And so I just don't want you guys to think that I, started building without a permit and to hope I could, try to get away with it. I was just doing what I thought that I had to do. I actually hired a building, a contracting company, Caledonia Lumber Company, to start the refurbish of the building. And they couldn't do it. I hired somebody else, and everybody was under the same opinion that this was a like-kind building, just rehabbing an agricultural building. And when I initially called in to see if I needed a permit, we even discussed stuff like what the size of the bathroom and stuff like that. And the conclusion was that we didn't need a permit. But if we need a permit, I said, all right, fine, I'll apply for the permit. So we applied for the permit. I just didn't want to rock the boat or whatever, and so I applied for the permit. And then after we applied for the permit, then we found that it's it's not quite far enough away from the neighbor's property. So I think if I would have known, or when I called up to ask if I needed a permit and I was told I didn't, if I was told I needed a permit then, whether I agreed with it or not, I would have applied for one and would have realized that we had to move it a little bit. And there's plenty of room to build the shed there. It's just a kind of unfortunate situation that how everything came about. So I wanted to let you guys know that I just didn't start building a building and see if I could get away with something. I went through the proper channels every single time I've been asked to do something, and I did call to see if we needed a permit. So.
He has, when I issued a stop work order and then requested that they submit the building permit, he did I think within like a week. It was over a weekend. So he did submit that then. And I guess when I then told him he needed the variance, he did get that in quickly at that point as well. And to clarify too, so this building did predate zoning, but what ended up causing the issue is that the property line then was changed after that point. Had the property line been where it is now in 1967, then there would be no issue. It'd be considered a legal non-conforming building, but that parcel split created the non-compliance. So that's really what is driving most of this.
I got a question for you. Who in the zoning office told you didn't need a building permit?
You know, to be honest, I'm not exactly sure who it was. It was a young lady back on April 21st, but you know, when I was told that I didn't need the permit, I didn't think it would ever come to something like this. So I didn't, you know, I have the date and I have, you know, the conversation and notes about it, but I know it was a young lady. I know there's been some turnover a little bit in the county, and yeah, I don't have the name.
So when you got the stop work order, then you didn't build anymore after that?
Right. I stopped right away. I think one of the guy that was doing the tin, he didn't get his message until later on that next day. So he went out and did a little bit of work, but yeah, with it right away, I stopped the work, absolutely. And then I also, when I realized that, then I had to, contact Mount Prairie as well, because I hadn't contacted them because I didn't think I needed a permit. So I also reached out to them as well at that time. I'm doing everything I can to be in line with what I needed to do.
Do you live there, or do you live someplace else?
No, I live in Rogers, Minnesota. My mom's from La Crescent, so I've been in the area for quite some time. But we bought land. We have 205 acres down there near Hoka for the last about 5 years. So no, I don't live there, but we're down there a little bit, much as I can. I got a I got a job and a wife and kids and stuff like that. So we get down there when we can. So.
You consistently throughout your documentation refer to this as a refurbish.
Yep.
If you, whoever you talked to on that, and you said you're going to do a refurbish, and it seems to me it said in there the same size and the same footprint and the same roof, and I struggle to call this a refurbish. This is a replacement. And when you do a replacement, you need to get a permit. And she'd have said that. If you said, I'm just doing a refurbish, then she would have been right. She said, no, you don't need a permit for that. But this is not a refurbish. This is a replacement.
I'll agree with you, Larry. And that's a totally different type of structure. The old structure, is, according to that picture, is a pole construction. This is a frame, concrete framed, just like a commercial garage.
It's a what frame? I'm sorry.
Well, you're stud framed. You're a stud frame, and the old one was a pole construction.
What they're saying is everything's brand new.
If everything is
this.
new, it's a total different type of construction even.
Yeah, and you're right. That has changed a little bit since the initial plan. We have when we deconstructed the building. Initially, we're going to leave the existing timbers up, and then pour the floor. But then we realized that we weren't able to do that, so we had to take all the timbers down, pour the floor, and then set the timbers on top. And subsequently, we realized that it would be that all those timbers are full of creosote, and I just I don't know, maybe I read too much on the internet, but it sounded like that creosote is just not good to inhale, and it's stinky, and so I that I scratched the use of the creosote coated timbers, which was their whole original plan was to do this neat, it was, in my mind, a refurbish, and maybe it's a replacement, I guess, but using all the same exact timbers and everything. And I just, we have them there and they're treated as good as, as good as we can. And I just wasn't comfortable moving forward with the same exact timbers. So maybe it changed from the original plan, I guess, but.
I am very much surprised that any building contractor wouldn't ask you for a building permit, because
I was wondering. that
anytime
too.
I've built a building, they won't even start. I gotta bring my building permit, and I'll be the first to admit, I don't like to have the government tell me what to do. I don't like to have the state tell me what to do. I don't like to have the county tell me what to do. But we have our ordinances here, our rules, ordinances, whatever you want to call them. And whether I like them or not, I have to abide by them. And if I have to abide by them, then I think everybody has to abide by them in the county. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I agree with you.
I agree. But when I called in initially, I was clear about the project. I mean, I was clear about exactly what we were doing, and like adding a bathroom to it, obviously that's totally different, that is a different use of that structure, but I was told that I didn't need one as long as it was under, 80 square feet. It'll be used for the same thing. It's all different. It is different wood and materials and stuff. And I know, I get it. I wish that I never would have started the thing, but now I'm stuck and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. It could have been so easy if I just, and less expensive, to do it in a different spot. It would have been so easy just to get a permit. And I just thought that it'd be easier to replace an existing, building. And I thought that, all the neighbors that drove by would think it's cool that I took this old ugly building and made it something not ugly anymore. I don't know.
So when I heard about this, I did the same thing with the chicken coop. I tore it all down. I used the same cement, but I put up a new building. And I went into zoning and I asked Aaron, well, what's it gonna cost? And he said $300. I didn't argue that because I had a brand new building over an old slab of cement.
Yeah,
So you
well,
have a new building. So that's why I don't like it that you went ahead and tried to do it without a permit.
I know. And honestly, I didn't know. I didn't. I called up for so Caledonia Lumber Company. They made it sound like I didn't need a permit because they didn't know about the. They thought that it was grandfathered in, which it would have been if it wasn't, if it hadn't been divided. And so maybe they didn't know, and I didn't know when the farm had been divided. That was prior to me, and so I think they thought it was an in-kind building too. So they didn't, and I'm new at this. I don't know what I'm doing, and that's probably the problem, I guess. But that's where I maybe got in trouble. But they didn't require a permit, and they were the one that was going to do the whole project. And then the other laborers or builders that I hired, they didn't feel that we needed a permit either. And I'm not arguing the fact that I need one. I just hope that you understand the reasoning. Even after two different companies, didn't really ask or give me the impression that we needed a permit. And then I called and described exactly what I was doing, everything that I was doing. I didn't go into details on where the windows would be or the size of the door or anything like that, but I was clear about the cement and having a kitchen and having a bathroom in there. And And that it would be, new tin on the outside, and that I even described it that we were gonna take the tin that was existing and use that on the interior of the structure to keep some of the character. And so it was very clear on what I was doing. And when they told me, and I don't want to throw anybody under the bus or anything, but I just want you to realize why I didn't apply for a permit. And I don't know if anybody that was outside of the construction arena would know that after I was told that I didn't need one. So I try to do everything right. I even called after it didn't seem like I needed a permit to check. And when they said that I didn't, then I moved forward. And as soon as they said I needed a permit, I applied for one, and I paid my money, and I paid for the variance, and and I wasn't trying to get away with something. I would have easily applied for a permit, and it would have been a non-issue. But I specifically called to ask, which I don't even think a lot of people would have.
Amelia, after you issued the stop work order, was there any construction done in that building before he came in to get a permit?
I think in between the photos there was additional tin put on, which I guess is consistent with what he said or just told you.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look at the sets of photos, they're from, the first one is from when I went out to just investigate and
What
see what was
page is
going
that?
on.
3, I suppose.
So on 3, yep. And then 3 on the top photo was the first day I went out just to check out the project. And then the bottom photo was from after he had submitted a building permit, I went out to check the setbacks. And you can see some of it had been wrapped. There's soffit, and then there's some tin on the opposite side, but not just like a row.
Are these both from the same view? No.
I have no, but there are different views. There's only a single photo from the road from my initial visit out there, and then there are, I think I tried to get one of, or tried to show each side in the next 3. So it's on bottom of page 3 and then page 4. And I don't know for sure when that took place. Like I said, he said that it took a day for the gentleman to get the word. Those were the 2 dates. It was October 20th when I was first out there, and November 2nd when I was second out there. So I can't tell you exactly when all that took place.
Was that just a single contractor?
Yeah, a single contractor hired the tin guy. Yeah. So the people that did the framing were different than the guy that does the tin.
He did that in a day. I'd like to hire him. Put the sheeting on, or what is it? The tie-back?
The wrap.
Yeah, but the wrap looks like all the way around. Put the tin on. He did a lot in a day.
Well, all of the at that time, all of the well, I mean, I don't know. All of the windows were already. They had to do like channels or something like that. I don't know. As soon as she came out on a Sunday, I reached out to him immediately, and they stopped working. They got a little bit done by the time they got caught wind. They said it'd only take 2 days to get the whole thing tinned anyways, but
Must have been more than one person then.
there was 2.
Well, I don't know.
I don't know if you public comment or.
No, I hadn't gotten to that point. I was thinking of, you had your comments already, the written ones. Do we have to summarize those, or do we want to go through that? You had some comments that came in the packet.
Oh, yeah, there was just a single comment that came.
Okay,
I guess it's on the record because it's in the packet. It's kind of lengthy,
right.
but I can read the first couple pages if you want. Towards the end, it has mostly ordinance citations.
What
Right.
page again?
So that's page 30 and 31. I can read them if you guys would like. Said it or not.
It probably would be best to go through those
Okay.
here. So we,
So hello zoning administration, County Board of Adjustment. Thank you for your time. Below I would like to share some history of the property in question, some concerns I think should be considered. Petition comments. It says, I don't think the petition for a variance is accurately proposed. The petitioner may indeed be too close to the road, but I think the bigger issue here is what kind of structure and where is the petitioner permitted to build. I think the petitioner in this variance that is being considered needs to apply the correct definitions for the building and use and must reflect the correct ordinance paragraph violations included on this letter. Anyone who received this letter is most likely under the assumption that all is being discussed is the side yard setback. And for most, the distance from the road for someone else's structure would be of no concern. Because of this, I feel it may be beneficial to readdress this with the correct definitions for structures and the correct ordinance paragraphs in entirety that are being petitioned. Unless I am missing something, there is more of an issue here than a side yard setback. I have heard this building deemed an accessory building. It would not be considered an accessory building based on definition below. This was an accessory building when there was a dwelling on the property that is long dismantled. The petitioner letter states existing building. That is not accurate. The previous building was in that relative location, but all parts of the existing building have been removed. This is not existing. Every piece of the building is new and on a new concrete slab and foundation. The previous structure was not weather tight and had no foundation. There was an existing dwelling on the property many years ago, but in a different location. I would say the most accurate description of this project is a nearly falling down storage building is being replaced with a two-story dwelling or cabin. It was my understanding, my neighbor's understanding, and the previous owner's understanding that this was not property that could have a dwelling on it again. The actual somewhat livable structure was demolished long ago. Now an accessory building is also demolished. Under petitioner property history. This property in question had a dwelling on it many years ago. Bob Chase was the owner at that time. He had made a makeshift dwelling out of the construction and road barricade blocks into the form of a tower structure. I've heard stories from the neighbors that during winter storms or cold weather, he and his family would have to get a hotel room due to the structure not holding heat or being weather tight. A beautiful towering example of why building and zoning codes are in place today. Later, the property was sold to John Greening. John Greening dismantled Bob's dilapidated structure. He had acquired a building permit and had plans to build a home. During that period, he had some marital troubles. This led to a divorce and he gave up plans to build a home. After some time, his building permit expired. Sometime after the permit expired, the neighbor applied for a building permit. The quarter section was allowed one single family home. With the structure on the Greening property abandoned and building permit expired, the neighboring property was granted a building permit. Built a home, I as in the author here, built a home on his 50 acres in that, on this 50 acres in that quarter section. The considerations are that I think most would agree allowing an influx of recreational cabins popping up all over the county wherever people were willing to sell 15 acres and the dilapidated building would be a poor decision for our county and neighbors. This property owner has property a mile down the road. That property may have a buildable site. Why would a property owner that had a buildable site be allowed to construct a building somewhere else that did not meet zoning requirements? When the property is sold, what language is in place to prevent this from becoming a year-round single-family residence? Where will the administration draw the line for recreational property owners trying to resurrect old abandoned wells and septic systems that may not be compliant or safe? This one most likely should have been properly abandoned. Should the owner be cited for being in violation of proper permitting or given a petition to go ahead with a project that doesn't meet ordinances based on the definitions of the property and buildings associated? Is it right or fair that the previous owner, John Greening, sold his property perhaps based on the thought he could not build there and perhaps priced the sale based on this and now looks as if a building was not a problem whatsoever? Is it the Board of Adjustment's responsibility to create or allow loopholes for vacation, recreational investment property owners that don't do their due diligence to research the property prior to purchasing? How far back can a new property owner go and consider a torn down house or burned down home from years ago and be grandfathered in as having a buildable site? If the petitioner's structure had bedrooms, a sink, a kitchen sink, and a bathroom, what separates this building from my or my property's homes? If anyone in Houston County is now able to sell off 15 acres and turn a chicken coop into a livable residence, I would say that contradicts the outline set forth in the current zoning ordinances. Proper permits were not applied for or taken out. Were accurate plans submitted, inspections inquired about, all fees paid? Is this the type of zoning customer you want to bend over backwards for? And a considerable amount of money was spent on my build and other folks' projects as well, to follow the letter of the law regarding zoning and building requirements. Length of my road and getting my utilities to my house due to the quarter section requirements was substantial. I'm not in favor of new neighbors building a structure that goes against so many items listed in the ordinances protecting rural land and property owners in Houston County. There are numerous reasons that this project does not fit into the language in these ordinances. What reasons would the administration have to allow this project to continue? So then they cite 14.1 subsection 3, section 4, section 5. And it says that the property does not meet the criteria listed above. Then they provide the cabin definition, and it says that the building meets very little of the requirements above. Then they provide we would be section 14 again, section 10 regarding the dwellings, the single family non-farm dwellings, with no more than one dwelling per quarter highlighted, and non-farm dwellings only permitted on buildable lots highlighted. And then they provide applicable definitions of accessory building, and it states that this project does not meet this definition. The next definition listed is egg building, and that the author says that this project does not meet this definition. Then they provide the definition of egg use, and the author states that I would say this does not apply to this project. And then they provide the definition of cabin, and the author states that a more accurate description of use, and if so, project should be based on that section 14.55 A to E. Then they provide the definition of dwelling, and the author asks, is there any part of this that's accurate? And then they also provide the definition of dwelling site. And then it's submitted by Matt Felixson.
And so just to add something to this. So this is an agricultural building. We are doing agricultural things on this land. And we need this building for that. This is not, he's under the assumption that we're building this Taj Mahal house and that the property was the existing building was deconstructed. It was a continuous process. We went right from, disassembling to reassembling all in a continuous timeline. And so it wasn't a building that was, long time torn down. It was the very next day after, one day after it only stopped for weekends when it was reassembled. And this is not that we need approval from a disgruntled neighbor, but this is not the neighbor that is on the setback side. This is a neighbor that's on another side, and his own garage currently sits less than 50 feet from the setback. And so I think that what happened was there was some issues with he and John Greening in the past. And I don't know why he's trying to take it out on me, but John Greening wanted to build a house there. He got in a marital issue. And as soon as his permit expired, he jumped on it and got a permit and built a house there. And then John Greening couldn't build on the quarter anymore. And so whatever animosity they had, I don't know how it carried over to me. I really didn't even know John. So.
Well, I think the real point here is I can't for the life of me figure out how you can say I'm on page 27, you go from that to this, and that's a refurbish. If you called the zoning department and said, I'm doing a refurbish on this building, do I need a permit? They could correctly say, no, you don't. If it's a refurbish, you still the building, but when you go from the top of that one to this, and you could still call that a refurbish. I mean, that makes you difficult. You lose credibility in that.
And I'm sorry,
And later, somewhere's in here, it seems like I read, it said it's the same it's the same footprint, it's the same height, it's the same roof. Wasn't that in
Yeah,
there?
I think
Didn't
that
I
was
read that
one of
in
your-
there?
What you submitted.
How can you write that and say these two, just to refurbish? And I can't say why you used that, what your motivation was. Was it intentional or not? I'm not going to get into that. I don't have any way to know that. But my problem is you obviously built a building without a permit, and therefore you have things that are illegally put in there, I'll say. And what do we do? What do we do now? We say, well, he started, the contractors ask him about it. And now what are you advocating that we just say, well, gee, that's fine. We'll just give you a variance. I don't know what the resolution should be. That's my problem.
and sir, I agree that maybe refurbish is the wrong word. The pictures that you're looking at there, that however is with the building half disassembled now. That's not the way that it looked. I just wanted to have the best picture that showed that it was the same height and width and dimensions. So that's not the way that the building looked. It had walls on all four sides. Not to say that makes it a refurbished. I don't want to say that.
There you even said the same height. It's not the same height.
Yeah, it's.
The problem I have with the whole thing is when I go to build a building, and I repeated this before about being told what I can and cannot do. I go into the zoning office and I say to whomever, if it's one of the secretaries, I say to them, I'd like to build a building here. They bring it up. What do I have to do to get a permit to build this building here? Then they will tell me, well, you got to stay 50 feet from the property line. You got to stay 65 feet from the center of the road. They look at the elevation, so on and so forth, and they say, no, there's no problem with it. So I guess that's where I have a problem, is that I can't believe that this day and age, whether you live in the city or you live in Hoka or where you live, that they don't have to make you, all of us, have a building permit. Now, I could be wrong on this. There may be places in the cities and towns that don't need a building permit, but I would almost think that the towns would be more restrictive than we are in the county, but I could be wrong. That's my problem with it.
Well, did you put in a septic too?
I did not. I have a septic design that's done, or that's in process with Weezer Septic. Or
It looks like
That has to have a permit also.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
We
there's
discussed that.
I'm just looking at that pipe there.
Oh, what,
I don't know
it's
what
the
that,
stubbing in the equipment storage room. I think that's what he's referencing. Is that is not for the bathroom then? Is that,
are you seeing one out here?
Yeah,
I think that just like a fence posts or something.
Could be.
I mean,
Yeah,
Is
we're
it-
not, they're not, there was a house with a existing, I mean, it was long gone by the time that I bought the property 5 years ago. And so the septic design was separate, but when we realized, so I was gonna get Weezer Septic was gonna do I've already hired them and paid them and everything. They're just kind of waiting.
No, I was just questioning that pipe on the right side there. Looks like a septic air pipe.
Oh, I see what you're saying. No, that it's not. I'm not sure what that is, but
Okay,
there's no septic done or
Okay.
anything like that now. Yeah.
all right.
There was an old septic that had to have been in the prior, dwelling that was there prior to, but that was, long removed. That house didn't exist for a long time, but
I don't
that
know.
was on the
what's
news.
the-
Yeah, I guess in reference to the letter, we don't have any records on the old septic system. And then we also, I didn't find anything on the Department of Health's website regarding the well either. And so I can't provide any information on that.
We have an
Um,
existing well. We have an existing compliant well and electricity on the building or on the
Okay.
property. About 200 feet to the south or the right of the pictures that you're seeing there. And those were both those were both put in prior to us purchasing the property.
I don't know.
Late getting here, but I'm with Dan from Voluntary Township.
Oh.
Hear what went on with this process.
Okay.
Because okay, I sent you an email with that information read out here at the meeting.
Yeah, actually, now that I think about it. He also submitted a public comment too, but I guess I did not read his.
What page?
28.
28.
I can just go through real quick. So this is an email submitted from Dan Fuchel on behalf of North Prairie Township. It says, hi, Amelia, this is a hard one to disapprove. His description of what was and what he is doing is not totally accurate. I understand that there was an existing building there, but it was totally removed by him a year or so ago. His reference of rehabbing is not accurate. He may have talked to a township person before starting this project, but it was not anyone from Prairie Township. And just because the old building was too close to the property line doesn't give the right for any new building to be set in the same place. This situation looks like it could start a precedent for our township that you can just start what you want to do if you are confronted about it, just apply for a variance and then be on your way. What hardship can we implement to stop this type of construction? If he would have started with obtaining a permit, he would have just been informed about the setback requirements. I've also been informed that this is not just a pole shed type building, it is a cabin shed or multiple use. Let's get all the application info up front. I don't have a problem with that at all, but what is his real intent here? And I guess I was gonna mention too, based on the previous comments, I did, that is when I went back to Greg and asked him for a layout of the interior. And so that is on page 18 is what he provided there. So you'll see one section is equipment storage. Then there is a bathroom and a kitchen and a storage loft in the other one. There are public comment packets right in the back if you guys were interested in looking at them too. I guess I didn't also there. I think there is one in there maybe. You guys want your public comment or?
I just, anyone else, maybe we move other comments. Did you have a comment on this or
He's probably the next.
are you the next? Yeah,
Are you Mark Erickson?
I'm the neighbor that wrote the letter.
oh,
I do
okay.
have comments if you'd like to talk, but,
Sure.
I just like to be accurate. I don't have any problem with Greg Jazuski. And I certainly am on good terms with John Green, the previous guy. But like you said, we're all bound by these laws of building. And it wasn't cheap or convenient for me to build my house 4 years ago. But I can stand behind that because like you said, if we all play across the same rules, then we're fine. That's not what's going on here. And the only reason I'm here, I guess, is I didn't think the petition letter is accurate. I don't think the petition, I feel like that's just the minor issue here. And I guess I started thinking about it and I didn't want to wait another 2 weeks and have it all complete and then know what. But,
So we're here on a variance for the setback. I mean, this building is an agricultural building, and I don't know how. I mean, I don't know how is that disputable. It's not a cabin. I don't understand what the issue is.
do any of you
It
have
sure-
an agricultural building?
I guess to me, it doesn't look like an agricultural building to what I
Does it
see
have
of
a-
it.
Does it have an overhead door? Does your agricultural building have an overhead?
Yes.
Most all of them do, a large door for getting
Sure.
equipment in and
How
out.
about a loft? Any of you guys' agricultural buildings have a loft with windows all around?
Nope.
What would be the purpose of that? See, that's what we're talking about. I want the things to be accurate. And I think we should call a spade a spade. And I don't think that's what we're doing here.
So you're saying you don't think it's an agricultural building?
No, not by any means. What kind of agriculture are we into? There's
Well,
another
it-
thing.
It either has to be an agricultural building, or it has to be a dwelling. I mean, and if we're not staying there, even if we're not sleeping in there or residing in there, then what is it? I mean, if it's not
Well,
a,
why would we have a kitchen and a bathroom in an agricultural building? We have no intentions of staying there.
so, hey, so section, it says very clearly right in the Houston County zoning ordinance, any agricultural building may contain a single restroom not to exceed 80 square feet in floor area.
I
With
believe it
space
also
to include
says
no other
not
use
for
of toilet
rental
and
or
bathing
dwelling.
facilities. Agriculture use, the use of the land buildings for the growing production. It says that in agricultural buildings, you can have a bathroom. And when I called Houston County, they told me the exact square footage I needed to stay within for the bathroom. We have places to sleep. But we can certainly use the bathroom out in an agricultural building, you know? And if that's your beef, I'm sorry. I don't
have a beef necessarily. I just think we need to be accurate with what we're petitioning all across the board, and I don't think this is it. Had this petition gone out and been more accurate, I think, there would be other people in here to speak. Like I said, nobody cares within 10 feet closer to a road or a property line. Who would have any concern of that? So I just think, and like you said, a president setting petition is a big deal. And if you're gonna let it go ahead, I think it needs to be black and white and accurate. And back to accuracy, I called Amelia, I wish I had the date, I don't. I called her just to ask if things had changed. Because like I said, I built 4 years ago, so I'm still pretty fresh in my mind what we can and can't do. And she said that they had been discussing it and it was on a stop order. I said, Amelia, if nobody goes out and says anything in 2 weeks, this thing will be done. All weathered in and ready to go, and they'll be sleeping in it, I guarantee it. And you can call it what you want, and it's none of my business. But like I said, I think we should be honest and accurate about it and grant it based on that.
Well, this, I mean,
If I have a 400 square foot cabin next to me and it's all legit and legal and he's went through the proper channels, God bless you, have a good time. But I had a considerable, a considerable more amount of expense and trouble with my build. And it's hard to watch a guy just come in and do what he wants because he's got a flat piece of ground, and because he didn't ask the right people. And sometimes it's easier to beg for forgiveness than to ask for permission. And that's what we got here.
Yep.
no, I asked for,
As far as the notice, that was all drafted by our office based upon the application that was made, and it was, I guess, a standard notice for this sort of situation. I can also comment that egg buildings are allowed a bathroom with 80 square feet.
I saw that. Then they have to nix the sink, right? The very news. Doesn't say anything about it.
There are a
There's no
number of
kitchen.
them. The kitchen is silent, I guess, in anything that you find in there. I guess the deciding factor may be that it does specifically state egg buildings can never be residences. But it does not say, yes, you can have a kitchen, or the contrary.
I'm not the expert of the definitions. I just.
well, you seem to be coming in here and telling me that I'm building a house when that's clearly not the case. I mean, we have.
Look at the definitions and honestly tell these folks what you're building and what your intention is, and then we're all good. We're all straight. We're all honest. Everything's on the up and up.
Rather than, I don't think the intent of public comment is to have this back and forth.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
are
That's
you-
right.
Okay,
Unless you have a question, thank you.
thank you.
I guess I think there's clearly a violation. Like I said, I'm not gonna try and guess motivation. I'm just struggling with, what do we do with it? It seemed to me, I guess the options are, and maybe somebody else can add to this. I would guess the options are, say, remove it, or there is a process in there for charging, what, triple for the permit, I think, something like that.
Correct.
Yep.
I've never thought that was, what's that?
Oh, I was just asked, I couldn't recall if we had done that upfront or not.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And I often, I mean, I don't know that that's been used very often, but even then, that's really not a big deterrent. Sure.
What's the difference in building criteria for permitting as such, whether it's an egg building or a cabin type building? Why?
Well, the cabin,
Skirting around the issue of getting a permit for what he's actually doing.
a cabin is what, 400 feet maximum?
So just for the
Not
record,
a
in
cabin.
case the mic didn't pick up, Dan Fuchsel asked what the difference in standards were for an egg building versus a cabin type building. A cabin type building is limited to 400 square feet or less, and you can't have any utilities in it. Whereas egg buildings, there is no limitation on anything, but on the size of it, I should say, but you are limited in the fact that it can't be a resident. You can't, I believe it does say reside in it at any point.
Yeah, and I just don't understand where this is coming from with the cabin or the dwelling.
Well,
I just
it's
don't
not a
understand
cabin. Not a cabin. I think probably the biggest sticking point is it would be so easily converted to a residence. It looks like a residence, like you said, it's got windows in it.
Oh,
It's gonna have a bathroom and a kitchen. Gonna have, I assume heat, put it on a slab.
yeah, it needs heat for the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Everything I've seen looks like it's being built as basically for residential,
Future.
to use as a house.
At this point, I guess all that I can say is that the permit we have on record for the variance hearing, what its intended use is for. The permit will also states what its intended use is for, which is not a dwelling. And so if we do any follow-up, I mean, if he was to sell it and people come and ask us what is this building, we would say it was permitted as an egg building. And so at that point, we've had those questions before.
Yeah.
I don't know what more we can do to circumvent that.
As far as this triple fine, when I was on the town board, person built a house on a 40 that didn't have a permit for it. So when he went to the Board of Adjustment, if that's what they called them at that time, or the zoning board, I don't know which one it was, they fined him $500. When he got out here in the parking lot, he laughed and he said, I could have never built that house. It only cost me $500. So that's what I think of the fines myself.
Yeah.
I guess the biggest problem I had is when I went to see it, I asked you, what is this, a house? And you said, no, you was gonna have woodworking equipment in there, and you were gonna have a sink and a bathroom and all that stuff, and you had a loft up there. And I thought, where's the overhead door in an egg building? Just like you said.
The other building that's on the property is where the storage for the four-wheelers and stuff like that goes. This might sound stupid, but I have a real issue with mice, and they're all over the place there. And so the original plans had a garage-like overhead door, and I didn't want that because I don't think you can keep the mice out that way. And we store the brassica food plot stuff there. We have, all sorts of stuff that critters can get into that's going to be stored out there. And I don't want an overhead door or a barn door like we have on the other place, because we can put the vehicles and stuff like that in there. And so that's what probably prompted a lot of this, is people are looking at it like, well, where's the barn door on if it's a barn, right? But it doesn't have to have a barn door to be considered an agricultural building. That we have, Amelia, when you came out to serve your notice, the stop work order, where did you serve that to?
There was a camper, like an RV camper there, and then also another, like a construction trailer there.
We have movable trailers on the property that we've slept in for 5 years, and we're happy there. I guess I didn't think about downstream, like if we're to sell the property or whatever, but my use is an agricultural building. And this has turned into, from, not meeting the setback to all of a sudden, is this thing a house, and am I getting away with something big? But to me, it's an agricultural building. It's a building to store our stuff. It's a place that, after we're out in the field, we can come in and have a warm shower, because I don't want to use the camper shower, or have a cup of chili and watch a Packers game maybe in an afternoon. But we're not staying there. And it's not that much different than every other, shed that's out there. Some are strictly only for farming, and that's it. That's all. And other ones have been converted into, a butchery, and that wasn't that's not, it's an egg building. And this has gotten so far down the road as the kind of what we're trying to do here. I
will say there is not a requirement for an overhead door in an egg building.
No.
And if you need me to put one in there, that would make it be more palatable to the neighbors or whatever. It's not, I mean, we can do that. I mean, I don't have an unlimited budget. I don't know what the heck I'm gonna do. If I have to move this thing, I don't know. I think it'll have to sit there. I don't have the money to reconstruct it somewhere else. I had the best intentions of here of just building an egg building. You know, I called up to see if I needed it, and I probably used the wrong verbiage, and I'm guilty of that. I said rehabbing, but it's reconstructing. I mean, whatever you want to call it. The reason I said rehabbing is because it was in the same exact spot, the same exact. So that's why I called it that, not to mislead anybody. And I called with the sole purpose of getting the permit. I did what I thought any reasonable person would do. And so I don't know where to go from here.
I don't either, but, you know, if you look
Yeah.
at page 27, I can't imagine you could call that rehabbing or
No.
refurbing. You know, when you get to this point, you said, my God, that is so far from here. You know, a reasonable person would say you need a permit for that. And, you know, maybe you got to go a little further to say, I'm going to triple the size. I'm going to make it you know, how much higher than this? And, you know, tell them that, let them know what you're doing. I'm putting trusses up. I'm putting windows in it. I've got it, you know, probably 25% higher than the other building. And
it's not,
explain that to them.
it's the exact
But if
same.
you just went in and said, I'm rehabbing this building, it's gonna be the same footprint, you keep saying that it's the same height, I'm just rehabbing that building, and that is so far from rehabbing that I just
Okay.
struggle with it.
Again, I think that, and I mean, with all due respect, we're looking at a building that was partially taken down already. It is the same exact height, width, length, every dimension. It was exactly the same because that's what I thought that I had to do. And the roof is not even on at this point. And so the height is
You can see
literally,
you can see what it's gonna be, the roof. Got the trusses up.
I'm talking about the building that the prior one.
Oh,
It was higher than that before they took the roof off of that one already. So it just has the support that goes along the top. It was the same height before.
well, I don't know, we gotta figure something out. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, quarter.
Quarter, right? But there again, a variance can be granted for that if there
No.
was.
No.
That's sort of, the variances can be granted.
For
He
quarter?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, I guess potentially he could ask for it,
You
but it
can
would be
ask
our
for it. We don't
recommendation
have
to
to
deny.
grant it if that's one of those things.
And I have no interest in having a house. I actually have property that has a flat spot less than a mile away that's on its own quarter that I could actually build a house on. That wasn't my intent. I don't want another house. I just want an egg building. I'll do whatever you guys want me to do to make it an egg building. It has to have heat, otherwise it can't have the bathroom. But other than that, whatever you guys want me to do to make it an egg building, I'll do it. You guys want to come check it out however, it's an egg building. It stores stuff. And we're going to be in there for day use only. There will never be a person that sleeps there or resides there. And these other, that wasn't the issue what we're here for. It's the setback, and it's the not having the permit obviously is a big issue, and me, not describing it accurately as what I was doing.
It's so close to a house, it's hard to overlook.
Yeah,
That's,
It's hard
I
to
know.
overlook that issue.
he commented that it's so close to a house that it's hard to ignore that. Well,
imagine we'd need to go through the findings. I'm not sure where we're at all. I think all of us have problems with this.
Yeah,
And the biggest one is that there wasn't a proper permit
Mhm.
done. And
This
on
is-
that sense, I would actually refer it to the county attorney. I think that should be done.
Okay. This is for, there are two variances being sought here, so I guess would you guys like to treat them independently then? We'll have to
Well, if we're
provide
gonna
another
talk
set
to
of
an attorney,
filings.
we maybe wanna postpone this.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood you there. So you're
Is that
looking
where
to
you're going?
table.
Well, I would say, yeah, that's a possibility too, but I was thinking more or less on whatever the requirements, because there was something about the failure to have a permit. To building, there is some rules there and that refer to the county attorney to apply that in this situation.
Yeah, I guess in my understanding, it's first I would issue stop work order. If they were not to comply with it, at that point, then we could issue misdemeanor penalties to them. And that's how we would get in enforcement. Obviously, he complied, or he stopped and then he submitted a building permit, which then got us to this point.
So I have to ask the question, what's a county attorney gonna tell us what decision we should make? As a board?
No, well, I was thinking more of this because of lack of a permit, that the follow-up on the penalties and stuff like that, that's what I was referring to. But it may be advice on how we should proceed through with this too. If that's the case, then we just have a motion to table it. If we want the advice of the county attorney.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure which way I
Well-
want to go myself.
Well,
You know, I just,
we keep coming back to this building permit again, you know, that's
yeah,
what we keep coming
that's
back
the bigger
to.
problem.
That's a bigger problem, and
Yeah.
I can't speak for the county attorney, but I would almost think that the county attorney would say, well, you probably should have discussed these things when you got a building permit. But I'm only guessing what the county attorney would say.
And I agree with that. My problem is, what is the remedy?
Yeah,
Well, if we pass everything that comes before the board here, because regardless of what our emotions are, or whatever you want to call it, then we are not going to go by the letter of the ordinances or the rules of the ordinances, in my opinion. I do know that if, when I set a trap, and I get my finger in it, it hurts like you know what. I'm more careful next time. When I go to the coffee shop and I tell them I got my finger in the trap, that the word gets around. You know where I'm going?
My quandary is telling them to tear it down and move it seems overly harsh. Our penalty seems overly lenient.
Who sets the penalty? Is that in the ordinance?
It's in the ordinance. It's triple, so the building permit, I believe this one would have been $300, and so it would be triple the fee then.
I told you what I think.
Yeah.
yeah, no, I understand that.
And maybe that's the question that for our attorney is, can we change that?
If it's in the ordinance, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Probably not, huh?
Well, if it's in the ordinance, it's gonna be pretty hard to change it, isn't it?
Yep,
I'm
I think
only
so.
asking, but
Somebody was gonna ask me that, that's, yeah, it's hard to take.
but what do we, if we table it, or we're gonna be going through the same discussion?
More than likely the same discussion again, and the other
Thanks.
one would be, this is something more that the planning commission. And there, you're more aware of what goes on there.
Well, this has to be resolved here.
This has to be resolved here.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I kind of thought, but. Realistically, what we have to deal, we had that one on the earlier with a house that was being constructed, that was, he had a permit, but it didn't fit the variances because of misinterpretation of something else. We tried to deal with that as though we were dealing with it as though it was the initial permit when construction had started. And that's probably what we have to deal with on this as far as the variance for the setback. Would we allow it if that was just a proposed location? No building had been done. And then I think we have to deal with the fact that he started construction without a permit
Yeah,
as a separate item.
I don't know how we do that.
And that's why I was thinking of referring to the town county attorney.
Maybe we should do that. Just ask them if there are other alternatives.
It's already, I know it doesn't seem like much to, and maybe to you guys it doesn't, but you know, this already stretched my budget. And now like the lift that's currently been sitting for the last 6 weeks inside the shed is, it's $1,800 a month. You know, these builders that I've already paid money to that are sitting on the sideline. So I know this might not seem like a big deal to you, but paying 3 times the permit fee is a big deal to me, you know? I try to do everything right. I maybe used the wrong verbiage when I called the county to ask for help. But I did. I called to ask for help because I didn't know what I was doing. I was told I didn't need one. And as soon as I was told that I needed one, I got one. I did everything that I could do. I don't know.
Here's the language in the ordinance for penalty for beginning without a zoning permit. Says any person, firm, or corporation and or both landowners and contractors who shall violate any of the provisions hereof or who shall make any false statements in any document required to be submitted under the provisions hereof shall be subject to a penalty under this ordinance. The contractor, owner, person, firm, or corporation that begins an activity or project requiring a zoning permit without first securing said zoning permit shall be subject to triple the normal application fees. This includes all applicable zoning applications required for the project or activity. A denial of said application shall require the owner, firm, corporation, and or contractor to restore the project or activity to its original and or compliant use, tear down any non-compliant structures, excavate earth to original ground elevations, move structure to compliant location, or construct a compliant septic system as the case may be. After the fact, zoning permit applications shall be subject to a fee of triple the original application fee. Projects of less than $1,000 in value may be exempt in tripling the application fee. This includes any and all permits issued through the zoning office. Any activities in violation of this ordinance shall be subject to the legal remedies available.
sure.
I guess I think we go ahead with the reading, but I think we have to submit it to the county attorney to follow up on. And we look
Yeah, I
at it,
don't
yes,
think
so
we
we
should,
start.
I don't think we should go through the findings till we'll have all the facts we need, or because they're gonna change depending on, some of the findings will possibly change with, after we talk to the attorney. Yeah, I'm with,
And sirs, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. So the guy that built the house, that wouldn't have been able to build the house there, he had to pay this small fine, right? But it would never have made it through the variance process. Do you think that if I did a permit and applied for the variance up front, do you think it would have been approved?
probably,
No probability.
or we would have looked at it and said, well, you got room, why don't you move it over? But it probably would have went through.
Yeah. And so I think that's maybe that might be the difference between the guy that built the house and laughed out in the parking lot, is he got away with something. In the end, I'm gonna, potentially end up with if I have to move it or whatever, it'll be the same thing. It'll just be in a different spot. So I don't see why the penalty of triple the permit fee doesn't apply here. If this is something that likely would have gone through variance, it's not like the guy that was laughing out in the parking lot. I'm not building something that, couldn't be done.
Like I said, I don't know your motivation. I'm not gonna go there. I don't go there. But if there's no penalty, when somebody comes in and says, oh gee, I didn't get a permit, well, I'm sorry, here, and I'll give it to you. What would be their incentive for not just going out and saying, the penalty is so limited, I'll try and get along without it.
I agree. I agree.
If we table, then we have to deal with it. We have 60 days after application to take care of this, is that right? Or is it 90 days?
You have 60 days. We can extend it once, I believe, to complete items or gather information. And then after that, I believe we need applicant permission to extend it.
Okay.
So what do you want to do? Do we want to move on or continue with the process, or do we want to table it? And get
I
information?
guess I'd like to table it.
We need a motion for that then.
What's the reasons? We're gonna talk to our attorney, see what options we have. I'll make a motion, we'll table it to our next meeting and see what options I have from our attorney.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
You're talking penalty options?
Yeah,
I'm struggling because this is a house. It's not an egg building.
shells, I've heard that, yeah. Well, yeah. They do have them, don't they?
Yep.
Or you just have a small living area.
That's my opinion.
We have a motion to table. Is there a second to that?
Well, I'll second it, but I don't think we're gonna gain, we do have a chance for comments before we vote. I don't think we're gonna gain one iota by tabling it, other than we're gonna go through the same thing next meeting, but I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a
We'll see where it
motion,
goes.
second to table. I tend to agree with you on that, but I'd like, in a way, I'd like to talk to the attorney about it a little more too. Any other comments? We have a motion and second to table. Hearing none, we'll do a roll call.
Ken Anderson,
Aye.
Larry Hafner,
Aye.
Franklin Hahn,
Yeah,
Wayne Runnigan,
Aye.
Okay, motion to table carried.
I don't know if you could catch that, Greg. So they've voted to table the application until our January hearing. So I guess at this point, everything will just be on hold until it is settled at that time.
So we'll have another kind of hearing like this, I guess, is that,
Yep, same thing.
okay. All right, thanks. Sorry it ran so long.
Yeah, it's a tough decision, you know?
I know.
We want
I
to
know
be
you,
fair, we want to be fair to you, but on the other hand, we gotta, you know, still enforce the laws.
yeah, you know what? No hard feeling, guys. I know.
All
I get
right,
it.
thanks.
I understand.
Appreciate that.
Take care.
All right, you as well. Boy,
You
the other
have
guy here
to
yet?
put this, notify the neighbors and all this again when we have it again,
Yep.
correct?
Yep, it'll go out on notice like it did the first time.
Okay. I did that, I figured they knew that, but
Oh. But, yeah,
that's the reason I
Yep,
mentioned
so you'll
that.
get the new date and time and everything on that.
I appreciate your time and I apologize if I spoke out of turn. This is new to me.
No, it's okay. It's tough.
I thought everybody should know.
No, I appreciated that
Yep.
and very much
Both
appreciated
of
you
you.
putting the comments in that we had to read.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that was helpful and I try not to be grumpy or catty. It's hard sometimes in text. And I thought it would be better to speak than you can.
Yeah,
I don't have any problem with that, just like I said, what's even and what's fair across the board, that's what it should be.
yeah, well, I for years was a township zoning administrator. And I've talked to different people and they said, you know, I may not like it, but if it's fair, I'll accept it.
Right.
You know, you excuse me, you lose your, you know, your buddy gets a break and everybody else doesn't. That gets out and you have no credibility at all left.
I mean, and you can say what you guys. It's
Don't
coming.
you have
You
any-
go over there and take a stroll.
No,
I did.
didn't. That's where my. hand
You
came.
did say
I
after.
kept going.
Absolutely.
Yep.
What'd you
know,
call
these
it?
guys,
That's
Schultz.
Shelf.
In
when I was
August,
young,
September, they had
I
4
didn't say
campers.
it, and I go,
Yep.
And when that structure went up, all them campers went up.
Like a little kid.
"Hmm,
I mean, it's black and white.
There's
I mean, you
contradictions.
can probably go on Beacon and see on that property, on their
I
other
don't
property,
want
they got
one of
campers.
those
scattered
issues
all over.
that way."
Is that right?
Well,
When I
this
was
is the
explaining
remedy. It's not just,
Oh, I tried to get that, but I'll-
it's a bunkhouse.
Well, I
that's-
thought I do it right away.
So when I looked at it,
Yeah.
I said, this is a Schultz.
You nailed, you hit it on the head.
Do we have that in our ordinance?
Maybe it should be.
Well, that's.
Oh, yeah, if it's not,
I mean, that's basically, I think there's several of those guys who built those, you know, a shed in a dwelling. My
yeah,
neighbor has.
yeah. Well, Sheber did that out on, what, old past 6.
Yeah.
Huh?
That's what it looks like. I mean, it looks
Yeah.
more like a house than it does look like a ag building.
This,
So is a Schultz is considered a house.
Yeah, we don't have a separate definition for a house, I guess. Anything that gets permitted, that if they come in asking to permit one, it's a dwelling. Yeah, at this point.
That's what I would, yeah. Sounds right.
all right, is,
And he makes it sound like he's broke. This Facebook page has got pictures of Aggie tuna in the Caribbean and everything else. I don't-
well,
Besides the point, but I don't think he's searching for that. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's really what if that's what
I know.
it says. Like you said, we penalties.
Our final applicant is not here. He ended up having a scheduled medical procedure for today, and so I was gonna present the facts as much as I can.
Okay,
And then if you think you can make a decision, we can go forward, but I guess if there was gonna be an issue with it, he just asked that we table that one as well, so that he can be present in January to represent himself.
I was gonna go view that site today. After the tornado last night, I had other fish to fry today. So I didn't get over there, but Wayne did view it, the way I
Yeah.
understand.
Yep.
And I'll let him comment if he wants to.
Well, I viewed it and, boy, I didn't think much of it. I didn't think it looked professional.
Should we open the hearing, read the notice and everything, or what?
I suppose if we have to table it, we have to read the notice and then we can just table it at his request.
Yep,
Maybe that's the better way to
Yeah.
deal with it.
Yeah, I'd
Get
like
it
to know
formally
more
here
about
and then
this
we can
because
table it at the owner's request.
I didn't talk to the owner, so I don't know what his,
Yep, I drove out there and looked at it and it's.
yeah, I guess my.
Yeah.
And I understand because he had a building before. They had a fire up there. So he wants something to build by, and probably the old place was even worse.
But I propose something, I guess, if we open this public hearing up, if the township would like to provide a public comment, that way perhaps he doesn't have to
Oh.
come back in January,
Oh, sure, sure.
if that,
I have to get to our regular meeting in 15 minutes, so
oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
kind of jumping in here, but our main issue, you guys deal with what's permissible and what isn't, but our main issue is he's basically adding another driveway. And what he did so far is not put in properly. So we've already had with the summer rain, the heavy summer rain we had a lot of debris washed down onto the township road. We had to make a special trip out there to grade that material off the road, to clean it up. So he took the old Hill Road, which was vacated by the county years ago, he redid the hill there, which was a snowmobile trail and stuff. So he opened that all up, bulldozed it and whatever. And then also added another road off of his main driveway up to this landing site, which both of those washed down onto the road. So in our situation, if he gets a variance to build there, we'd like to see some criteria in there that he has to put those driveways in according to county specs, where there's ditches, culverts, so that he keeps the debris
Okay.
off the road. Other than that, we don't really have an issue with what he's doing there. I think there are some other issues that are addressed, but that's our issue. So.
yeah, it didn't have that 18-inch back slope
Uh,
coming up to the
Yeah.
town road.
The driveway's gonna be what, 12 degrees? 12 degrees?
12% grade is the
Yeah,
maximum.
12% grade.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
thank you.
right, thank you.
So it's our best to have, to just get it formally in by reading the notice and then we can table it as his request. You can enter this information now. It was in, some of that is in here already.
Yeah, some of,
Okay,
and I
Ted
think
wrote
he
in.
pretty much summarized his letter.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you guys felt that you could move forward, he was fine with
Okay.
moving forward, but I guess if you anticipated, if there was an issue with something, he
Yeah,
would like an opportunity to represent himself.
Well, I would like to have myself personally like to have him here if we're gonna put some stipulations onto it. So he understands exactly, well, you have to have an engineer. I'm just grabbing this out of the sky. You have to have an engineer this for the runoff and so on. Am I
Yeah.
wrong?
Yeah.
But you go ahead if you want to open it.
Well, I think in the process of
Yeah. I know
All
what
I'm
you're
thinking
saying.
of is that we just have to hear, open it up,
Okay.
the reading,
have to
and then we
open it
can,
to
and then
delay
we
it?
have to formally table it
Right.
to
I,
wait for at the request of the landowner to, so he can be present
okay.
if we have concerns.
So please take notice that an application was received from the following persons for a variance of setback requirements. Mark Erickson in Mount Prairie Township for a variance to reduce Toll Bluff setback requirement to place an accessory building, and a variance of setback requirements to reduce side yard setbacks in an agricultural district for proposed building. A hearing on this application will be held at the Houston County Commissioners Room in Caledonia at 6:10 PM on Thursday, December 16th of 2021. All persons having an interest in the matter will be given the opportunity to submit comments relative to the granting or denying of said application. Comments should be mailed to the Environmental Services Department or emailed and must be received by Tuesday, December 7th at 2021. Comments in regard to the petition received by this date will be part of the public record and will be made available for review by the Board of Adjustment prior to the meeting. This was advertised on December 1st of 2021.
And we talked about, because of the request. No, well, you have to send out all that mailing again on this one too.
Yeah,
That's what, because of that, but I guess unless we're comfortable with granting the variance, I think then if there's any question about granting it, we should wait.
I agree, because if we're gonna have erosion problems there, which this gentleman alluded to, and I forgot his name, Dan
Yeah.
somebody.
Thought so.
And Wayne had viewed the site and you had viewed the
I
site.
just, briefly went down there and didn't walk up there, but I just kind of looked from the vehicle. and
So
it's kinda like,
my own personal opinion, like I said before, I'd like to have him here so he can, if we put stipulations onto granting it, then he can be part of it.
Yeah. I guess that's kind of where I am too. There's
Yeah,
enough
I-
concerns about it that I think, and then I guess it was
I
enough
walked
concern
up
by
it and I
me,
wish
just
I
looking
wouldn't
at
have.
this, that I wanted to look at.
Why?
It was so muddy,
Oh,
That
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
just terrible. That was the day of.
so we have a,
So
Did somebody
Wayne
motion?
made the motion to table.
Frank.
and
Second,
Franklin
Oh, Wayne did? I second.
Franklin,
second.
or
Frank did it,
whatever.
Wayne seconded. Okay,
I get names mixed up.
Yeah, that's all right.
Well, let's just, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
We do the minutes?
We have the minutes to do.
Yeah.
Need a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, carried. And then the only thing is to adjourn, I think, or unless you have something else.
I was just gonna make a quick announcement, I guess, but they hired a new environmental services director, so he starts Monday, so he will probably be present for the January hearing. And then, I know, because you guys have asked a little bit this summer about the land use plan, so we are looking at drafting our request for proposals for, the county board asked, I guess, or decided that should we be able to find a contractor, they'll hire out that process from fact gathering all the way through drafting and just all the way through the process. So we're working on getting a proposal drafted for that. So just a heads up on where that's at. If that gets started, we'll probably be looking for committee members if you guys are interested. So that's all I had though.
Okay, I got a question for you. Being these two are tabled, wouldn't it be of best interest if you followed up with them too?
Oh, yeah, I'm assuming I will be involved with all this stuff ongoing anyway,
Okay.
as I did on many of them when Aaron was here as well.
Right.
Well, I didn't want
But I think,
you to be kicked out when he wouldn't, not that he knows, he doesn't know anything, but he doesn't know the situation, what we're doing here is what I'm getting.
right, he should probably be here to get the experience, I suppose. So,
Right.
and just to meet you guys if he doesn't meet ahead of time.
What kind of a job is he leaving?
I I believe it comes from the Wisconsin DNR. His background's more in solid waste.
Oh, yeah?
I'm not entirely, I guess, sure.
Is he gonna pick up that part as well?
Yeah. Yeah, the department head oversees all the programs that we administer, so he will take on everything, I guess.
How old is he?
I believe he retired from his former position. But I know.
That makes me question his judgment.
Our terms for the Board of Adjustment are any of us up?
No, I think she said everybody was good for till next year.
I've got Ken expires in 23. Larry's 23, Franklin's 22, Wayne is 23, and Visker is 22.
And how many of them are going to be rolling off? Do you have that? I think I have.
Yeah, well,
I think you are.
what is, how many?
3-year terms. Ken Anderson began in 2018.
Yep, I know
Larry
that.
Hafner started 16. Franklin Bond started in 2020. Wayne Runnigan started in 21. And Ken Visker started in 2017.
Well, you're just a baby then, yeah. You've been called a baby in a long time.
They say when you're young, you got wisdom.
Is
So
that right?
if I'm a baby, then I got
I
wisdom.
never heard that wisdom young thing.
No,
Okay,
you're only as old as your
so
health
we have
allows
what,
you.
can be on for 3 terms?
3, I believe. Yeah.
So 9 years,
Three terms, yeah.
so 9 years total.
Okay, well, what she said I started
16.
16, so 26, 25.
Yeah, one
huh?
more.
Thought of us gonna be. So if do you have anything? Oh, other than that guy, he's
No.
retired. huh?
Okay.
Maybe he had an early retirement.
Okay,
Can I ask you guys one question?
sure.
So this will be revisited in January. Is there really any benefit for me to come? I mean, you guys have my 2 cents worth. And that's what it is, 2 cents.
I don't think there really is that much, we know your letter is basically said most of what you said anyway.
Yeah,
So, okay.
yeah, we appreciate you
I
coming.
really
but
appreciate
yeah,
that your comments that you put together.
Okay, thank you. All right, you guys have a good evening.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome to come though.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to, yeah.
If you really get lost and you say, I want something exciting tonight.
That,
Keep that in mind.
for, as far as speaking only for myself, whether you're here or not,
Makes no difference.
my decision
Right.
would be the same whether you're here or not. But
Yep.
like Larry said, I'm not trying to chase you away.
Oh, all right. No, I feel the same way. So, anyway, appreciate what you do.
You bet. Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
Thanks.
Guess we need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, I got to